Hi guys, welcome to our Spring Boot and React Full Stack Development course by Aliyu Sahabo Adam Coding Techniques. In this tutorial series, you will learn how to build a full stack web application, and whether you are a beginner or an expert looking to improve your skill, then this tutorial is for you. So let's look at the project overview. In this course, you will build full stack web application with Spring Boot and React, and we will build the employee management system. And in this tutorial, it is not only that you will learn about the React, and I will also introduce you to new front-end technologies like Redux, which we will use for managing state of the application. So here is the CRUD features that is in the project, which is add employee, delete employee, update employee, and read employee. So first, let's look at what is Spring Boot. Spring Boot is a powerful and popular framework for building Java applications. It facilitates the development process by providing a set of standards and defaults which allow developers to quickly create production-ready applications. So this is Spring Boot, and let's look at the ReactJS. ReactJS is a powerful JavaScript library used by developers to create user interface for web applications. It was first created by Facebook in 2011 to improve the performance and has since been widely adopted by developers around the world. So what you will learn in this project: you will build your first full stack web application with awesome UI using the React and Spring Boot. You will introduce to a basic of React, which include component, JSX, state, and props. You will learn how to effectively use React Router with functional component. You will learn how to connect your React frontend and Spring Boot backend. You will learn how to make REST API call with Axios. You will introduce to basic of Redux, which include reducers, action, and store. You will learn how to configure MySQL with Spring Boot. You will also learn how to develop Spring Web MVC application with Spring Boot. Okay, so this is what we have in this part 1 of this series. See you in the next video, which we will look at the architecture of the application. In this video, we will look at the application architecture. We have the backend app and the front-end app. The backend app serves raw data, and the front-end app get backend responses, process it, and instruct the browser what to display. So this is called front-end backend separation, where we'll have front-end as a different app and the backend as a different app. You can see we have the front-end React, backend Spring Boot. We make a request and we have the response by the backend. It process and we will have the response. Okay, so let's look at Spring Boot React full stack application architecture. So here you can see I separated the backend flow and as well as the front end flow. So in the front end, we will start with the Redux. We have Redux. If you are new to Redux, Redux is simple. Redux is a state management library for JavaScript applications. So you can see here we have action. Action is a plain JavaScript object that describes a change to be made in the state. So we also have the reducer, which displays or specify how the state should change in response to an action. Okay. So we also have the store. The store is an object that holds the entire state tree of our application. Okay, so here we can see we have the React. So in the React we have the router, and we use the router to navigate around our apps. We also have the component. So we also have we will use functional component as a component that we will use in this application. We also have the Axios HTTP here. The Axios HTTP, we will make it for a REST API call to our Spring Boot. Okay, in the backend, you can see we have Spring REST controller, which specify endpoint which we will access the controller action. And you can see we have Spring Data JPA, the bridge between our backend application, that is Spring Boot, and the database. So we use MySQL to store data. So this is the whole overview of the Spring Boot React full stack application architecture for the front end and the back end. Okay, so here we have tools and technologies used in front end. We have front end. So the front end, we have VS Code, IDE, we use React, Redux Chrome Dev Tool, and we use NPM and Node.js. Okay, so in the backend, that is tools and technologies used in backend, we have the Spring Suite tool, STS, Maven Apache, Spring Boot, Spring Data JPA, and MySQL driver. So let's look at the prerequisite: basic knowledge of JavaScript, basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, React basic knowledge of Java and Node.js and NPM installed. So this is the prerequisite. Here is the demo of our full stack web application with Spring Boot and React. We can add a new employee. You can see it takes us to the add employee. Let's add a employee Aliyu. Last name Sahabo, that is my name, and the email Aliyu Sahabo adam@gmail.com. Okay, so let's submit this. After submitting, it takes us to the list of employee. You can see we add a new user. Let's add another user. So let's add this Adam Aliyu, and I will set it aa@gmail.com to simplify. Submit. So you can see here are the users we add. If you want, we will edit the user. Let's edit this, and I will change this like to Haidar, then save. We see it changes to Haidar Aliyu, and we can also delete the user. Okay, so this is what we're going to build together with you. Hi guys, in this video we will create a new Spring Boot project and configure my SQL database. So let's go to the file, new. Here we will create Spring Starter project. So it will connect us to the spring.io. So I will change this name to employee management app. Okay, so I will change the description to employee management app tutorial. Okay, so I will be using Maven, and the Java version is 17. Here the group is the name of the channel. You can choose the name that you like. I choose coding techniques here as the name of the group. The name of the application, employee management app. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Let's click next and add the dependency for this project. Okay, so it is a web application, we need a Spring Web, and you can see the Spring Boot version is 3.3.2. So we also need a Spring Boot DevTool for the live reload. We need a MySQL driver, Spring Data JPA, which is the bridge between our application and the database. Okay, so these are what we need here. So all we need to do is click finish. We finish adding the dependency for our application. So what we will do next, we will configure MySQL database. If the project finish, import. The project is now ready. So let's open this. You can see we have the starter class. Okay, so here inside the resource application.properties, we'll have the configuration for the MySQL here, but first we need to create a new schema in the MySQL workbench. So let's go to the MySQL workbench. Here we will create a new schema. So here it is. We will call this employees. Okay, apply, finish. So here is the employee. You can see we have no table. Later we will create a model and map it to this employee. We will have those table when we refresh. Okay, so now let's add the configuration, and here it is. You can see we have this data source configuration. This is the URL that connects us to the MySQL workbench database that is running on this port, that is 3306. We have this as access credential, username, and the password based on the setting of your MySQL workbench. We have this Hibernate DLL. Okay, so this is the Hibernate configuration. It automatically updates the database schema based on the entity definition. Okay, and we also have this login configuration for the SQL. We set this to debug. This enable login of SQL statement executed by Hibernate at the debug level. We also have this, you can see, login level, which we set this Hibernate type. So this enables login of SQL or of types, that is, it enable the login for the SQL types. So now we just need to copy this and add it to our application.properties. So let's go here inside the application.properties. We paste this. Okay, save the changes. Now we will create a model. So let's create a package, call it model. Inside this we'll create entity class. So now let's create a class called employee. This annotate this class that we are just creating with at entity to make it a database or entity class at entity. Here it is. So we need a primary key. We will define a field of private long, and we will call this ID. So, and let's have annotate it with at ID, and we need at generated value. So we set the strategy generation type dot auto. Okay, so let's define the other field that we need. So we need a private string first name. What we will do, we will generate a constructor and the getters and setters. generate constructor, deselect all, generate, here it is. And the next thing, let's generate getters and setters. So go to the source, generate getters and setters, select all. Okay, and we also need to generate a constructor with this field. Generate constructor using this field, excluding the ID, and that is okay. So now, so let's go to the starter class, right click, run as Spring Boot application. Okay, here is our application started successfully, and now what we will do, we will check the database to see if we have this table. Refresh first. Using this, you can see we will refresh the database, and you can see we have employee. You can see the ID, email, first name and last name. Okay, so the next thing, in the next video, we will expose the REST endpoint. Hi guys, in this video we will expose the REST endpoint for the getting employee, that is get, and the post, that is for saving employee, to REST endpoint. Okay, to do this we need to define a repository which we will use to perform database operations such as save, update, delete. Okay, let's create package called repository, and inside this we'll have a new interface, and we'll call this employee repository. So this will extend JPA repository. By extending JPA repository, we will have access to some methods which we will use to perform JPA operation. Extend JPA repository, here it is. Okay, and we'll pass the name of the class employee, here it is, and here we'll pass along. Okay, now we will use this interface employee repository to perform JPA operation. So the next thing, let's define a contract for the service. We need a package and call this service. So let's create a new interface. Okay, and we'll call this employee service. Okay, and this will define some method declaration. So first, for the saving user, we need employee save employee, and we will pass the employee that we need to save. Okay, we'll add employee, and the second one is for getting the employee, and this will be iterable of employee. It will return a list of employees, and we will call this get employees. Okay, so we will have no parameter here. Let's save these changes. Make sure you save all these changes, and then the next thing, let's create a class that will implement this interface, and we will call this employee service implementation. impl is okay, and let's have this. Okay, so the first thing before doing anything, we need to annotate this class with @service. That is the stereotype annotation, and we need to use the repository that we just defined for performing, that is JPA operation. So let's have the auto before having it private. We annotate this with auto private employee repository. Okay, that is fine. And the next thing we will do, we will define two. We will have to implement the employee service contract and have the two method definition. Add unimplemented method. This is as simple as we will just have employee repository dot save followed by the employee. So we finish with this one, and the next method is nearly the same. We just need to get the employee. So employee repository dot find all. Okay, that is fine as well. So let's save these changes. And the next thing we will do is we will define a controller. So let's create a package. Call this controller. So inside this we will define a class called this employee controller. Okay, so we'll annotate this with @REST service to tell the dispatcher servlet we don't expect a view, we just need a raw data @REST controller, and we need @request mapping. So let's define this as employee API. That is fine. So let's talk to the interface. We need a private, and what will be this is the employee service. Okay, we'll annotate this with @auto. That is fine. And okay, so let's define two controller action. The first one is the @get mapping. Okay, so for the get mapping, we'll have the endpoint as the employees. It will return a list of employee. So we need a public iterable of employee and name this method get employees. So this will have no parameter, and we will just return employee service dot get employees, the method that we define. Okay, and for the post mapping, let's have post mapping. We'll have the @employee. So this will be public employee save employee. We expect the request that will come from here. Let's add this so that okay, we expect the request that will come from here to have a body, and we will intercept a body. The body is for the employee request body, and the type is employee. Okay, and let's have, so we'll return the employee service dot save employee, and we pass the employee as the parameter. Okay, that is all we need to do. Okay, the next thing, we'll try adding user. So, and I will use Postman to add the user to this endpoint. So let's copy this, go to the Postman. We will test this. We need http local host 8080 / followed by this employee API, and remember it is at employee. Okay, http localhost 8080 employee API at employee. We are trying to access the action for the at employee. So let's go and add the body for this request. It is a raw data, and so we'll have the first name, last name, and the email. So let's duplicate this, and it will have a comma separated. Okay, so here we have a first name, and I will set this to my name Aliyu, and we have a last name here, last name, and these to Sahabo, and we will have the email to Aliyu Sahabo adam@gmail.com. Okay, so last name, first name, and email. Now let's send this request. Okay, you can see we send this request and it has the ID of 1. If we check the database, so here let's click on this, we'll see that a new user is added. You can see we have Aliyu Sahabo. Okay, so let's test the get method, and the get method is just employees, and we change this to get. Okay, so let's try to get this. It is working as expected. So that is what we have. See you in the next video. Hi guys, in this video we will create a new React app, and I will use the VS Code IDE. Here it is. If you prefer another IDE, you can have a IDE of your choice. So if you prefer the VS Code, then go to the visualstudio.com and download this IDE. Okay, so after downloading this, you need to download the Node.js and install on your machine. Okay, so the next thing we will do is we need to create React app. So go to the browser, create new React app, look for the create new React app, and it will take you to this React, a JavaScript library for building user interface, this link. So create on the link. So when you click on the link, scroll, and you can see we will use this tool to download or to create new React app. So you see here is the create new React app, and then followed by the name of the app we want to create. So let's copy this, go to the VS Code, and here you can see a folder employee app. And if you did not see this terminal, you just go to these three dots and you can see create new terminal. Okay, once you have the terminal, just you will need to paste what we have followed by the name of the app that we want to create. So in this case, employee app. Okay, once you have this npx create React app employee app, then click on enter. So this will take a couple of seconds to create. Okay, now after the installation has finished, you can see our application is ready. Here it is. Okay, so now let's start the application. To start the application, first we need to go to the directory of the app using the cd. Let's do this, cd, and the name of the app employee app. Okay, then enter. It will take us to the directory. Then we start the application, npm start, then click enter. This again will take a couple of minutes. Our application started successfully. Okay, now let's go to the browser. You can see the React app is running. Okay, now let's have a quick overview of our React application. So let's go to the VS Code. Here you can see our employee app. So these are the folders and files. You can see we have these node modules. Node modules contain all the installed npm packages. You can see we have this public, consists of the public asset of your application. We also have this source. This is the where we write our source code, the source code of the application. You can see we have these 4 files here, starting from the git ignore. These files are the configuration file of our application. Okay, first let's go to the source, and you can see we have the app.js. Okay, app.js is the root component of the application. You can see we have this. So now let's try to change this and have something like hi. Okay, so remove this and have, let's say we have hi here. Okay, let's save these changes, and you see it is compiling. Okay, you can see we have hi here. Okay, so now let's go and have a quick overview of other folders that we have and files. So go to the VS Code. Here we have the app.css style for the app component, and we also have the index.js. This index.js we have is it initializes React and renders the root component. That is the app component. Okay, let's scroll down. We have the index.css. This consists of the global style for the application. Okay, so in the configuration file, you can see we have this package.json. The package.json consists of the metadata and the dependency. We also have the package log.json, and I will say that this package log.json is the dependency version log. We have the git ignore, and this git ignored files and directory ignored by the git. Okay, we also have this readme. Okay, so this readme is the project documentation. You can see we have all these notes. So we did not check the public. That is the only place we did not check. You can see we have this file, and this is the public asset of the application. As I said earlier, if you click on the index.js, okay, and you can see we have the root element, and it serves all the other element inside this root element. Okay, now this is what we have for the overview of our React application. So see you next. Hi guys, in this section our application will use the bootstrap, so we need a bootstrap CSS. We will add the bootstrap to our application for the style. So let's go to the browser, and in the new type we have bootstrap 5. Okay, the first link here, bootstrap 5, you can see we have the CSS link. We will just copy this link. Okay, then go back to the application. So inside the index.html, we will add this in the header. Okay, so we'll add this below this title, and we can decide to install the bootstrap for the React, and it's simple as this. Let me remove this and use the bootstrap that we will install. Okay, so now let's create a new terminal here. By clicking here, we will have a new terminal. Then we will use this terminal to install the bootstrap. So you can see, let's use cd to go to the app directory, employee app, click enter, then we use npm install bootstrap. Okay, so this is what we use to install bootstrap, npm install bootstrap, then click. This will take a couple of seconds. Okay, you can see that the installation for the bootstrap is finished. You can see here it is. We have the bootstrap. Okay, now how you will check this dependency? You just go to the package.json. Inside the package.json, you can see these dependencies. Okay, so okay, here it is, bootstrap. Now it's added. So the next thing we will do, we will go to the index.js and import the bootstrap that we just added. Here inside the index.js, we will import, then inside this the single quotation we have bootstrap slash disc slash css slash then bootstrap again dot css. Okay, now we will save the application. We finish installation and adding the bootstrap css. Okay, the next thing we will do is we will set up our Redux, but we will first look at the overview of the Redux. So let's see you in the next video. Hi guys, in this section we will going to look at what is Redux before setting a Redux. So we will look at the Redux, and we will start with the what is Redux. Redux is a state management library for JavaScript application, often used with React. It helps us manage the application state in a predictable way. So we will use the Redux to manage the state of our application. And we have the quick overview of Redux here. First, let's look at some key things. We have store, the central repository that holds the entire state of the application. The only way to change the state inside it is to dispatch an action. Okay, we have action, which is the object that describe a change or an event in the application. It must have a type property and can have additional data. Okay, so let's look at this reducer. It's a pure function that takes the current state and an action, then returns a new state. It is used to specify how the state changes in response to actions that is dispatched. Okay, then the last thing we will do look at is a dev tool. That is a set of tools that help the developers debug Redux applications, such as Redux dev tool extension, which allow tracking state changes and action in real time. Okay, so we will look at all this in action, and what next we will do is that we will set up our Redux for our application. Hi guys, in this section we will set up Redux. So before starting to set up the Redux, we need to install all the dependency needed for this. So here we will have the npm install. So now we will not just install a single dependency, we need to list this dependency having a space between each. So we'll start with the Redux, then we'll add the space, then we will have a React Redux as well, React Redux, then space. So we also need at ReduxJS toolkit, at Redux, then JS slash toolkit. Okay, so this is a set of default tool and practice provided by the Redux. Okay, then the last one we need is we add a space and then at Redux, that is for the dev tool, at Redux dev tools, then slash extension. Okay, so we have the Redux here, followed by the React Redux, followed by the at Redux here, at Redux JS toolkit. Okay, and then followed by the at Redux DevTool extension. Okay, now we will click enter, so it will install all these. Now all our dependency is installed. To confirm that, we will go to the package.json. So you can see here we have the React Redux, we have the Redux, and we also have the at Redux DevTool extension, followed by the Redux JS toolkit. Okay, so now the next thing we will do is we will start setting up our Redux. So we will create a new folder where we will have all the file for our Redux inside. So we will create it inside this folder, source folder. Let's create a new folder and call this Redux. Okay, so let's start creating the files that we will use inside this Redux. We need a store.js, and let's create another. We need initial state.js. Okay, so we also need another new file. This will be reducer.js. We also need a new file, action types.js, and we also need another file, action.js. Okay, first let's start with the initial state. Okay, and we will have a function, and we will have the state of our application inside the initial state. So let's have const initial state, okay, equal to, so we'll have employees. All the employees will be inside this. Okay, so let's have this array and we will export this. Export default, then initial state. Okay, so this is what we have inside the initial set and all that we will do inside this file. Okay, and the next thing we'll work on the reducer. So let's go to the reducer. The reducer function accept the action dispatch, and based on the action it will change the state of the application. Okay, now we'll have the export default function and call this employee reducer. Okay, and we'll have some parameter. This will accept two parameter. First, the state, which is the initial state, and the action. Okay, so let's have we need to import the initial state. Import initial state. Okay, so inside this, let's bring this down and we'll have state equal to initial state. Then we need the action. Okay, that is all we have in the parameter, and let's have a switch statement. So we use switch to switch based on the type of the action, okay, so that it performs the operation. Action dot type, then followed by, we will define several action type here, and based on the action we will have to update the state. Okay, for now we just need to return default. Later we will have those action implementation of the reducer. Okay, now we will have just a plain reducer. So let's have default just to return state. Okay, that is all that we need here for now. So, and the second thing we will have in this file is we need a combined reducer. So let's import the combined reducer from the Redux. Combine, let's have this. So that is all that we need. Then we'll export the combined reducer. The combined reducer consists all the reducers that we will have in the file, so it is a different function. So let's have export, sorry, not this, export followed by const, then the root, let's call this root reducer, so equal to, we'll have combined reducer. So here we'll define the reducer. We'll call this employees, then followed by our employee reducer. So that is all that we need to do in this file for now. Okay, we have defined the reducer. Okay, so let's go to the action types as well. For the action type now, we just need to define a function and add a single action, that is get, because that is what we were going to do next. Export const, and we will name this employee type. employee type, okay, equal to, so let's have a get. We will just define a get type for now, and inside this get, here it's get, we define the string coding techniques employee dot get, that define that the type is to get the employee. So let's go to the action.js and define a function. We'll just define a single function here for now, okay, and the function is, let's have export function and call this get available employee, available employees, get available employees, okay. So, and this will receive employee as a parameter. We will use this in for the action to dispatch, okay. So return on, first we need a type. The type, we will import the type that we just defined. So we will have the action types dot, we will be able to access, you see we have employee type inside this, and we will be able to access this get. So that is just get that we know. We need a comma and then followed by payload, and the payload will be the employee. That is, every changes that is made, we need to tell the reducer by calling the get available and inside the action that we will define later, the action function, okay. So let's save these changes, and what we will do next is we'll configure the store, okay, and we will start by importing the configure store. Import configure store. So, and we also need to import the Redux dev tool. So let's import the Redux dev tool, and it will be compose with dev tool, with dev tools, and it will be from the Redux at Redux dev tool. So dependency that we just added, and we need to also import the initial state, okay, that is all, and then the root reducer. Import root reducer. So now we import the initial state root reducer, and now we will set up the function for these two, okay. So we will call the function store const store equal to, we will have configure store. Now we will set up this one by one. We will have the reducer, our reducer, and it is a root reducer, okay. Is a comma, so followed by the initial state, and we will have this to preloaded state, and we will set this to initial state, comma, and then we also need a dev tool. So this dev tool, we will have it installed. Despite having this, we will have compose with dev tools, okay. For this T that we have is a capital letter, let changes, and we have no T here, so let change have the changes. So we have compose with devtool. So we'll use devtool to see how our state behave. Okay, and the last thing that we need to add here is that a middleware. So a middleware intercept action before it goes to the reducer and we perform operation like login. In this case, we will use it to make a REST API call. So let's have get default middleware, get default middleware. We will use the default middleware because here we are importing the at Redux.js toolkit, so it comes with pre-configured functions which we will use. So we'll add the middle. So this is what we have. All we need to do is export default stroke. So we finished setting up all the basic that we need for the Redux, and the next thing, our application need to know that we have the Redux, so that all components that use a Redux to dispatch actions will have access to the store. Okay, now before going to the index.js, let's remove this. This should not be within this bracket, otherwise we'll have issues accessing the root reducer. Okay, so that is the only changes we have for the Redux DevTool extension, and Redux.js is okay, and for this we initial set and root reducer, we leave it like this. Okay, go to the index and we need to import. So this is what we have. Then we need to wrap our app within a provider element. We will have provider. So let's add this inside, and the next thing we need to add our store. So store, we need to import the store as well. Import the store. Okay, so now we finish all we need to do for the basic of the setup, that is the Redux, and you need to add DevTool to the Chrome. And when we go to this, go to new tab, then look for the Redux DevTool for Chrome. So we add it in the configuration, so we will use this Redux DevTool to see the changes in our application. So let's click on this, and once you come to here, you will add to Chrome. So I already added it, so that is why it is showing me remove. Okay, I add the Chrome DevTool, and to show you example, when you add, you will see your Redux DevTool. You will choose where to have it, and it will open. Okay, so now we doesn't have anything, it doesn't dispatch action, we won't see anything now. Okay, so see you in the next video. Hi guys, in this section we will use Axios to make a REST API call from our backend. We will fetch the data and then populate our Redux state. Okay, so now let's install the Axios. npm install, then followed by Axios. Okay, so couple will create a new file. Okay, and here is the file. We will have a class, but before that have the base URL for our app. Base, let's call this base. The base URL is the local host http://localhost:8080 8080, then followed by employee. So let's check this inside our backend. Okay, so here it is. We'll just need to copy this and then add it. Okay, so here is the backend URL. Okay, running on port 8080, localhost 8080 employee. We will use this to communicate. Okay, and the next thing we will do, let's have a class and call this. So before adding function to the class, let's export default and we'll use new API so that we can access the function inside the API easily without creating object. And the function that we will define here is for get. So let's have a get employees. So this function will make a get call. So we need to import Axios and from the Axios here it is. Okay, so and we'll define how we will make the REST API call. Return Axios dot get. We have the method get, which we will use to make a REST API call. So we need a base URL, our base URL here. So plus, remember we are using this. Let's go to the backend. We are using this action to get employees. So we need to copy this URL, copy and then go to the VS Code. So we need to paste this here, and this is all we will do here inside this file. Okay, so we need to save these changes and then we'll go to the action. Okay, so let's go to the action and we will use what we fetch to populate our state. Inside the action.js, we will define new action. So we'll call this get employee action to differentiate it with this. So let's have export function and we will call this get employees and we call this action because it is action that our reducer will use. We will use this to ditch paths. Get employees action, and we'll have to return this patch, then followed by okay, inside this we'll define all that we need. Okay, so the first thing is we'll import the API, import API from the Prosy folder. So we'll use this here, API.getEmployees. So once we make this REST API call, we get this employee, then we need to perform some operation after getting the employee. So let's have this call the response that we will have. Okay, and so we'll dispatch this. We have our method that we just defined, having the parameter of employees, which will add this to our state. So let's call this get available employee. We pass the data from the response res dot data. Okay, so let's have this like this, and we need to print something. Let's set the console.log, and we'll set that data fetch from the DB. Data fetch from the DB. So we need to see the data in the console, so that to confirm that it fetch, we need json.stringify to stringify the data, then res dot data. Okay, that is totally fine. And so let's define in case of error. So we come to here, and then access this. We have catch. In case of error, we will catch. So, and we call this error. This is not what we want to define. Error, then space. Okay, we need to define the error within here if we have issues fetching the data. Okay, and this will be console dot error. So then we'll say that error while fetching data, or encountered error while fetching data. So followed by plus error. So that is all we do here. First, we make a REST API call to the backend, and then after making this REST API call, we use this response. Then we dispatch the data that we get to our Redux state, and then we print here console.log data fetch from the DB. In case of an error, we have this again. So let's save these changes, and then we will go to the next. Next is we will have a reducer. Inside this reducer, remember we defined this reducer earlier, but we did not define any action. We did not associate it with any action. Okay, so now we will have to import the action types for the get. Okay, so let's import the action types. The beta. So now let's define a case for which if it is a get, for which if we dispatch a get. Okay, action.types dot employee type dot get. So if it is get, then we define how we handle it. It will return. Okay, so we need a initial state, then followed by the new state, new employee that we want to add. Employees, and we have action.payload. Okay, so that is we are adding the new response that we handled earlier in the action to the reducer is handling it, then to the store. Okay, so the next thing, we need to enable the cross origin. So we will enable it so that the local host 3000 will able to access. We have add cross. We will copy the URL for the front end that we want to have it allow access inside this. So let's go to the browser. Oops, we are having these supposed to be reducers, so let's go to, okay, we will change this to reducers. We will add s, okay, and here the same combine reducers. So let's save these changes and go back to the browser to copy the URL. So you see we have this I. Copy this and paste it here. Okay, so let's save these changes. That is all that we will do here. And the next thing, we will define the component that will list the employee, that we will have the list component. Hi guys, in this section we will define a component that will list the available employee that we have, since that we define a get. So let's go to this source and create a new folder. Call this component. This is where all our components will be. So inside the component we will create a new file and call this employee list.js. okay, so here we'll define a function const employee. We'll set employee list, then equal to followed by, okay, so we need to, before starting to write, we need to export this. Export default, then employee list. Okay, so let's start to define the UI. What we will do, we will have a return, and inside this we will have everything that we need to define. So we'll start with the div. Okay, so we'll have a container that will contain all the elements that we will have apart from the div that we just defined. Okay, so let's have this another div, and we'll call this, we'll give this a bootstrap class name, which is container, and this container empty4, so that we could have a space. Okay, so on the next thing we will do is we will define a cat, where we will define the cat header and the cat body. So we also need a div for this, and the class name for this is cat. Okay, and let's have a cat header. So div will have a class name again for this class name. We call this cat header. Okay, so and we also need a div. We call this cat body. Class name cat body. Okay, so let's start with the cat header, and inside the cat header what we want to define is just a text employees. So let's have h4, and we name these. Inside this we'll add employees, so we just need to change this m, and we will need to align it to center. Okay, we have a class name with text center. This will align it to center. So inside the card body will define a table. Okay, so let's have this table. So we'll start with the table, and we need to pass a class name, bootstrap class name for the table as well. So this will be table strip. Okay, so table strip, and this is okay. So we need to define the t head. Okay, so let's drop this on. We need the t head. So and then followed by the table row, where we'll define the static table header for this. So we need th, and we'll define the first name, last name, and email. So we'll have first name, then followed by last name, and then followed by email. Okay, and the next thing we will do is we will define the t body. Okay, let's have this t body. So inside the t body, we need to map over a list of employees that we have in our state, then and display them. So for this case, we need to go back to the top of this class, to the top of this function, and we need a list of employees. So we need to import the use selector, which will select the data that we have in the state. Const, we call this employees equal to, and we use the use selector. So we'll get the state like this, state. So by doing this, we get all the employees that we have, and we need to dispatch the action that we define using the use effect. So we need to import the use effect. So if you remember, inside the action.js, we just defined this function, but we did not call it. We need to call it so that it can dispatch the data that we have. So let's go back to the employee list component, and so here we need to have the use effect work. So we use the use effect. So then I can import the dispatch or use dispatch. Okay, and let's have const. Call this dispatch and set it to use dispatch. Okay, and the next thing we will do is we will dispatch the action. So we need to import the action as well. Import get employee action. So we dispatch the employee action, dispatch employee action, that is get employee action. Here it is. So this is what we do here, and we need to save the changes. So inside the body, we need to map over the list of employees that we have in the data base, which is fetched to our state. So we'll use the employees dot map. So let's see the name that we just give the employee. Yes, So employee dot map, and will map over the list of employee. For each employee, we will display it. So let's have this, and okay, add it inside this. So we'll start with the first name. Let's define a TD. So let's have 1 2 3. Okay, and we use this to display this. We need employee dot first name. Okay, and this all that we need to do. We need to save the changes. Okay, that is all we need to do to display these employees. Okay, so we will call this function now. Before calling this inside the app.js, let's have some modification here. We did not supposed to just call this method like this. It is a method, we call it like this. So let's save the changes, and we will go to the app.js. So we need to import the component. So it is employee list, and so we need to change this. Let's just define a simple div like this and call the employee list. So here it is. So we need to save all changes before checking. Make sure you save all changes. Okay, so let's go to the browser. You see it fetch the data that we have in the database, this data. Okay, so let's go back to the browser and see if our fetching that we do is working. Console. So you see it fetch data. Console again. You see it data fetch from DB. That is what we define inside the action Ali usable. Okay, so that is what we define. And then the next thing, let's check our Redux. So to check the Redux, right click. You see we have Redux dev tool. Let's set it to left, and you see we have a get action. So Redux is a very simple way to handle data. So here is the state you can see. Okay, so see you in the next video. We're going to have a React router which we will use to navigate around component. Okay, so we will going to install the React router, and the purpose here in this application, we need to add a button around here which we will use for the add employee. So when we click this employee, it takes us to another page which we will use to add employee. Okay, now we will start with implementing the React router, which will allow us to navigate from one component to another based on the route. Okay, so let's go back to terminal, the directory of your app, by having the cd employee, the name of the app, employee app, like this, then enter. So it will take us to the directory of the app. Then we have the npm install, then React router down, React router done. Okay, so this is what we will install now. Then click enter. So it will install the React router down. On this, before we need to have a component which we will navigate to. We are navigating from employee list to add employee. So let's define a simple implementation of this component inside the component folder that we create. So let's create new file, and we will call this employee @employee. So @employee. Okay, and inside this file, let's have the @employee const @employee equal to. Okay, so we will export this, export default, then @employee. So let's have a simple implementation so that when we navigate, we will know that we are inside the @employee. Okay, so we'll have return. So let's define a div and a h1. So, and we will have a text @employee component. Okay, so let's save these changes and then go to the app.js. What we will use here, the element that is the router, route, and route. So import, and we will have something like this: browser router. As first, we will start with router, comma, then route, so then followed by route. Okay, this one has s because it consists a lot of route. We will define this route within this. Okay, so now let's have this from React router DOM. Here it is. So now we will change how this works. We will have a router. So inside this, we will define a route, that is the one that have s. Okay, it indicates that we will have a lot of route inside, that is this route. Okay, so we'll define 2 for now. Let's have route. Here it is. So let's define 2, and this is how we define it. Let's duplicate this. Okay, so here we'll need to add the path. Okay, so let's define path for this. That is the URL where we will get this, equal to this. We will have this within this. When we navigate to this, let me show you example. This is where we will get the @employee. It's same thing as adding this slash. Okay, you see. Okay, so then let's add the element. The element represents the component that we will get when we navigate to the place. Okay, so let's define the employee list. We will get the employee list component. So we set employee list to this route, and the second one is the @employee. Let's define the route. We'll have @employee. So, and the element that we will get here is that is the component, equal to. So the component we will get here is @employee. So let's import the @employee. So we need it here, @employee. Okay, so this is what we have. Now we will going to define the logic for the navigation. Okay, so and then define the logic. Okay, so employee list, let's look for the employee list inside the component. Here is the employee list, and first we need to import the use navigate, which we will use to navigate from the React router DOM. And let's define a const and call this navigate equal to use navigate. So we'll use this to navigate, and we need to add the button. So we are adding the button here. Okay, so let's have the button here, and we'll define button. So, and this will be at employee. So we need a class name. So the class name will be btn primary. That is the color of the button. So let's save these changes and check. So you see we have the add employee now. So let's add the logic so that when we click, it takes us to the add employee component. Okay, so and first let's define the function. So the function will be at employee. Will name it at user so that it will be different from the name of the other component. Okay, so let's have function at user followed by, so inside this function the only thing we need to do is we will call the navigate, and inside this navigate we'll have the add employee. It will take us to the add employee. This function will take us to the add employee. Okay, that's all we define here, and we need to confirm that from the app.js the URL we are using here is same as what we are using inside the employee list. Okay, let's press it. Okay, so on the button we'll define the on click so that when a user click this, it will call the add user function. Okay, now let's save these changes and try to see if our implementation works as expected. So let's click on the add employee. So you see it takes us to the add employee component because inside the add employee component we define this. Okay, so see you in the next video. Hi guys, in this video we'll have the implementation for post API and update our Redux state for the add employee. Okay, so here let's go to the folder prosy. We have API. Okay, and let's define the add employee method. We have add employee. So here it's the function. Before having the implementation for this function, remember inside the backend we have this post mapping. We have this action, and this action expects a request body of type employee. So this function we need to define it the way we will send a data. Okay, so here we need to pass a request data. Let's name it request data. So we expect a request body. We will pass it to the add employee. So we'll name this request data. So and we'll return the axios dot post. This is a post mapping, and we'll have the base URL first and then plus followed by the URL we are targeting this. So let's add it. To avoid mistake, we copy. So on the next thing is the request data, that is the response body. So we'll send the request with the response body. Okay, so we finish with this, and let's go to the action.js to update our state when we make this request. So here inside the Redux we have action.js, and we'll start with a simple function. So let's have export, and we have function called this @employee. So this will expect this employee, and we'll define the type and the payload. Okay, before having this, we will go to the action type. Here remember we have only for the get. Now we will need a, that is post. So we'll name this post, and then let's have a string like this. To differentiate this, we just need to change this get with post. Okay, save the changes and then go back to the action.js. We will return something like this. We will start with the type, action type, which the reducer will use to identify. Okay, we have action types that employee type dot, in this case, post, and then let's define the payload. Payload is the employee. Okay, it is as simple as this. And the next thing, we will define the action. So we need to define the @employee action. So export function, we name this @employee action. So, and this will also expect the employee. So, and then we need a dispatch. We'll return dispatch. So here it is, dispatch, and then followed by we need API dot, we will access the @employee. Here it is. Okay, so this method expect a data. So let's pass this employee, and then after this we'll have 10. So we'll define what will happen after. So let's name this new employee. Okay, and we'll have the logic. So we'll call the @employee first. Let's call the dispatch, and then @employee, then followed by the new employee dot data. Okay, so this will have the employee that we just add. We are passing it to our action. Okay, and the reducer will use the type that we have here, and it will update our state. So this is the implementation of the @employee, and have the implementation for the post inside the reducer. Okay, so here we only have for the get. So let's define this. We need a case, and this will be, we'll have the action types dot employee type dot, we are using post for now. Okay, and we'll return. So state, and then now we need to update our state with the new employee, that is the new payload that we have. So we use this to go through the state dot employees, and then we add the new employee action dot payload. Okay, so this is the only changes that we will make here. Okay, let's save the changes, and the next thing we will have the implementation for the add employee. So we need to have field so that we can submit the employee, the new employee. In this video, we will have the implementation of the add employee. We will have the input field, and we will manage the state. Okay, so let's start with the container, with the bootstrap class name of container empty4. Okay, so we added empty4 so that we can have a space above our container. Okay, so and then the next thing, we need another div which will align our container. So we will align our form, so we will have a class name so of call md6 offset md3. So we need a cut. We'll define all the implementation inside the cut. So we need a class name called cut, and as well we need a cut header and a cut body. So let's have a class name, call this cut body, and we also need a cut header. So let's define this. It is above div with the class name will be cut header. So let's define what we need in the cut header. So it is a h4 element with the name registered employee. Okay, and we need to align these to center. So we use the class name and then have text center. Okay, let's save the changes and see what we have. Okay, you see what we have, registered employee. So here is the body. So let's go and continue. We'll need the input field here inside the cut body. So the input field will be defined within the form. So let's have a form, and we'll start with the div first for the first name. Okay, and the class for this, let's have a class name form group followed by mb then 3, like this. Okay, and we will have the label. So we will have a label, and with this label we will have a for is first name. Okay, and in this we'll set we need a first name. Okay, now is the turn for the input element. Okay, let's have input. Okay, so let's define some properties for this. Okay, the first thing is type. The type is text. then followed by the class name, and the class name is form control. So followed by, then it required. So we have a required is required. Okay, so this is what we have so far, and let's save the changes and see. Okay, so you see we have the first name. Okay, we will duplicate this and change for the last name and the email. So it started from here. Let's have a space, and we need a space again, then put for the last name, last name. So we'll change this to last name. So we need the ID. Here I forgot to add the ID, same as the first name. The first name. Okay, so let's duplicate these changes here so that to avoid. Okay, and we just need to change this last name to match what we have. So let's save again and see we have the last name. Okay, and let's go back to duplicate this for the email. So we need email, and this will change to email. Then we need email again here, email, and all of them is the text of type text. So let's change this like this, it look better. Tap, and then so it's okay. So let's see, we have first name, last name, and then email. So what we will add next is that we need a button. So let's go and add the button. So scroll down below this, we need the button. So this button will be of a class name btn again success. So and we call this submit, and let's define the type of this, it's submit. So let's see again what we have. You see we added the submit. Okay, and let's go and add another button. So the button that we will add now is for cancel. So in case if you want to cancel to navigate back, so we need a button again. So and we call this cancel. So for this, and we need to have the type for the cancel, submit, which is not necessary, and we also need a class btn. We call this danger, we want it to be in a red. So let's save these changes and go to the browser. You see, so we need to add some space here. Okay, so for this space, let's have a style within this style. Inside this we need margin left to like 10. Let's add it 10 and see. Okay, So now it's nice, and let's go back. So we want that if we click on the cancel, it take us back to the list of employees. Okay, so let's define this function and call it cancel. But before then, we need to import the use navigate. So, and we define the navigate like this. Navigate equal to use navigate. Okay, so and the function we need to define here is, we call this cancel. Okay, so we need to navigate back to the part, this part like this. Okay, so now let's save the changes and check if it works as needed. So there is something I forgot here. Okay, and we need to add the on click for this, and this supposed to be a const. So let's add the on click on this button, on click. So we'll have the cancel here. Okay, so it's fine now, and we'll save the changes and test. So here it is. Let's try this. It takes us to the add register employee. It takes us back when we cancel. Okay, now the next thing we will do is we will define how we manage the state. Okay, let's go back and manage the state. So we will define a state, and we will use the use state. Let's import it. Import use state. Okay, from React. Then let's define it in the top like this. So we need a const. We have a state and set state equal to, we need this use state. So within this, we'll define the first name, last name, and the email. Okay, so we need a first name. We set this to empty, and last name. We will later update our state using the set state. Okay, followed by the email. So this is how we manage this. Okay, so we need to add the function that will manage the first name, the last name, and the email. So let's start defining those functions below here. Okay, so we will need a const and call this handle first name. Okay, and equal to event. So we will define this. We need to get the value that is submitted, or the value that changed in the input. We call this value, we use the event dot, then we have the target dot value. Okay, so we get the value. Now we will set the value. So we'll use the set state. Inside the set state, we need the order and then followed by the first name and the value of the first name. Okay, it's as simple as this. So let's duplicate this and just have some little changes. So for the first name, so we need this again. For the last name, let's change this to last name, and we need to change this to last name. So let's duplicate this and have change for the email, handle email. So we get the value and then set this for the email. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So the next thing we will do, we will pass this to the input field. So we'll start with the input first name. We have on change, then we'll pass the handle first name. Let's go to the second one, which is last name. We need on change, and we'll have handle last name. Let's go to the next, and on it on change, we'll have handle email. Okay, that is nice. And the next thing, we'll have the submit, the handle submit. Okay, so for the handle submit, let's define it below here. So call this const handle submit event and call to this too. So we need this event dot prevent default. Okay, so let's start defining the what we need here. So we need to dispatch the @employee action. Okay, so let's import the @employee action. Import @employee action. So we need to dispatch the state. Okay, @employee action. We'll start with the dispatch, so we need to import with the dispatch as well. Import use dispatch. So, and we need to define a const, call this dispatch equal to use dispatch. So we use this to dispatch action to reducer. Okay, so let's have dispatch followed by the action that we want to dispatch, @employee action. Then what we pass here is a state, that is the current state. And the next thing we will do is we'll set all these values to empty after submitting, so that we will know. So let's go to the @employee. When we add this and submit it, it will empty the field. So let's add this logic. So we set this to empty using the set set. So let's just copy the empty values that we have here and add it for the first name and the last name. After submitting, we need to navigate again. So we need to navigate back to the list of the employee. So this is what we need here, and there is something we need to handle, that is when we have this, we will wait for it to finish, otherwise we will end up, when it is not finished, we will end up navigating to the list of employee component, and by the time the operation did not finish, we did not see the employee that we add. So we need to add async. So let's have this too. It would be better like this. Then we need to have await to this. Okay, so this will wait until the operation finish and then navigate. Okay, so we finish having this implementation, but the only thing, we need to add the onSubmit function to the form. So where is the form? Here it is. You can see it here on submit. We need to call this handle submit. So let's save the changes. To make sure you save all the changes, we will just go to this here and you can see save all. So this is what we have. Now the next thing we will do, we will test our implementation. So let's go to, so I will add another user, and the name of this user, Adam. Let's set hi down, and we name this Adam hi @gmail.com. So this is just email I imagine for the Adam Haidar, not a real email. So let's submit this. So you see it submitted, and it take us back to the list of employee, and here we have Adam Haidar added. Okay, so this is the implementation of the add employee component. See you in the next video. Hi guys, in this video we will have the backend implementation for the object. Okay, so let's go to the employee service interface and declare a method get employee by ID. So we will get employee by ID, get employee by ID. So we need the ID, that is to get the employee by ID, we need to pass this parameter. Okay, let's save this, and when we go to this class, we need to add unimplemented method. Okay, so let's define the logic here. Okay, first we need to use the employee repository. So let's do this. Employee equal to, so we'll use the employee repository dot, we need to access the method find by ID. Then we need to pass this ID. Okay, so when we have error accessing the employee ID, so we need to throw an exception, or else throw exception. So the type of exception we will throw here is fetch not found exception. So we need a fetch not found exception. Okay, so remember we need a new fetch not found exception. Okay, so we'll have to pass the employee here, that is the name of the entity, and followed by the unique identity like this. Okay, So this is what we will need here, and we're going to return the employee. Okay, that is all. And the next thing, we'll go to the controller. So let's go to the controller. So inside the controller, we'll first define the logic for the update. Okay, so this will be a put mapping. We need a put mapping. Let's define the endpoint. So the endpoint will be employee followed by the ID. So we will use the add variable to intercept the ID. So to get the ID in the request, we will make the request with ID included. So we need a public response entity of employee. Okay, so the name of the method will be update employee. Okay, and the method will have a parameter of the add variable. Okay, of long ID, and then followed by we will send a request body. Okay, so we need to get these two, request body and of type employee. So let me break this down, it will be better. Of type employee, and we will call this employee details. Okay, so it better like this. And the next thing, we'll have the logic for this. Okay, we are having this error because we doesn't return anything. We will return once we finish. So first let's have employee and equal to get employee by ID. Then we will pass the ID. Okay, here it is. And the next thing, we will going to set the detail that is updated to this employee that we find. And if we doesn't find this employee, we're going to throw the exception. So let's have employee dot, and we're going to call the set first name. Okay, and we will get it from the request that is met. So employee details dot get first name, and we need employee again dot set last name. So we'll use the employee details dot get last name. Okay, and we also need employee, that is for the email, employee dot set email, then employee details dot get email. Okay, so the difference between this employee object and the one that we have a request, the user sent the request with a new employee detail, so they find the user with the ID, that is the employee with this ID, then update the data. So what we will do now is that we will return the response entity, but first we need to save. After getting all this, we need to save. So let's call employee and set this to updated employee equal to employee service, and call the save method. Okay, so we will update, we save the employee. Okay, so let's return the response entity dot okay, and we'll pass the body, that is the updated employee, as the body. So updated employee. Okay, this is all that we need to do for the updates, and we need to define a specific method again, that will get the employee by ID, which we will use inside our update component. Okay, so let's define this. It is a get mapping, and the same thing, this will have employee. Let me just paste this. Okay, let's define the action. Okay, get employee by ID, that is the name of the method, and this method will only get the employee by ID. So we have a long ID, and then we just need to copy what is defined here. Okay, so we will return the employee. Okay, you will see where this action is helpful when we go to the update component. So this is what we have here. Okay, see you in the next video, where we will have the implementation for the API and the update component. In the last video, we have the backend implementation of the update and additional endpoint for getting the employee. So we will use this now. First, let's go to the API and define the function that will talk to our backend, that is the endpoint for the employee, update employee. So let's name this update employee. This will have the parameter of ID and employee data. Okay, so inside this we'll return axios dot put, that is the update. First, we need the base URL, plus we need a employee, that is the endpoint. So employee, then we need this ID. Okay, so it will be included in the request. So let's have slash, then followed by the ID, plus ID, then we need to pass the employee data, that is the REST request body. So that is all that we need to do here. And we need to, the next thing we need to also have for the endpoint that we have defined for get employee. So we need to name this get employee by ID. So we pass the ID. So it is a get request. We'll return axios dot get. Okay, so the only difference is this line, so let's just copy it and add it here. Okay, because that is the only difference. Let's now go to the update employee component. We will create the update employee component. Okay, so first, before going to this, let's go to the employee list and define the button. that will take us to the update, that is the edit button. Remember, you can see here we have no button, so let's go to will define it within this row. Okay, so let's have another table data td. So inside this we'll have a button, that is the edit button name. So, and we will have edit on it like this. So now let's save and check the view, what is returned. So you see we have the edit. So now let's define a function so that when we click on it will take us to the update employee component function, and we name this edit employee. So this will use this to navigate to the component. Okay, so we already have the navigate. So here we will pass the URL. So in this case, the backtick operator. So, and here is the backtick operators. Okay, so let's have this employee. Okay, followed by we need this $, and we pass the ID. So let's have the ID here. Okay, that is fine. And let's go to the button now. When we click on this button, we will need to get the ID. So let's define the onClick here. OnClick. So on our function edit employee, so we will get the employee ID. So let's use the employee dot ID. Okay, that is all that we need to do here. So the next thing, we'll create the component called update employee. So let's save these changes and create this component. So we'll name this update employee. Okay, so .js. Okay, so the update employee is similar to the add employee. So let's copy this and we will change the implementation. So let's start by changing the name of the component. We call this update employee, and for this also update employee. So let's remove this update employee. Okay, before going further, let's go to the app.js, import the update employee. So we need to change this to update employee. So remember, inside the employee list we navigate to the update employee. So let's go to the employee list. So here it is. So we need to provide this ID to the URL with the help of the React router. So let's go to the app.js. We just need to have employee, then followed by slash, then ID. So this is how we provide this ID to the component, and we will access the ID using the use param. Okay, so let's go to the update employee that we just defined. Okay, so here we will not use this ditch path because we will not dispatch any action. We just need to update the data, and the Redux will get the updated data using the get that we initially defined without any altering the process for the Redux. So we don't need new action. We're just going to access the API directly from here. Okay, so what we need here, we need a use param first. Let import use param, which we will use to access the ID in the URL. Okay, and we also need to import the use effect. Okay, so let's import the use effect, import use effect. Okay, so that is what we need here, and the next thing that we will going to do, we will have to, so let's copy this here, and we use the use param to get the ID. Okay, equal to use param. So by this we will get the ID. Okay, and we need to provide this ID here, having a new data. So ID, then ID, that is the ID that we have here. Then we have to provide a comma like this. Okay, so the next thing we will do is define the use effect. Okay, so let's have the use effect, the logic here. So we need to import the API. So API. Okay, so the first thing, we need to use the endpoint that we defined for getting the employee by ID. So let's have API dot get employee by ID, and then we use state dot ID. Okay, with this ID that we navigate, okay, from our map in the list employee. So after getting this, we use gen. So that is the data that is returned. We're going to use the data here. So okay, so that is where we will use the data to update our state with the new data before saving the data in the database. Okay, so let's have let employee equal to the data that we get, that is res dot data. So, and we will use this employee to set the data. Okay, so we need to set state. Okay, so let's copy what we already have here, and then update the data step by step. Here we have to use the state dot ID, and for the first name we access the employee dot first name. Then the same thing, we'll repeat the process here. So that is all that we do here. We get the employee by the ID from our backend, and then set the state. Now what we're going to do is we need to send this to the new updated data. We need to send it to the database. So we will use the data get by the get employee by ID to populate our input field with the all data of the employee. Then we decide to change the data so that we can update with what we want. So this is just to populate our input field. So, and we will go to the input field. Now we have a value, and the value will be state. For the first name, state dot first name, and for the last name, let's add the value state dot last name, and for the email, let's have here it's value. So we'll have state dot email. Okay, so and once we get these data, we need to change how we are no longer using the dispatch. We need to directly use the API dot update employee. So we first pass the ID and then followed by the current state. Okay, so that is how we work with this. And let's save the changes and let's remove this. So now we will test the application. So when we go to the browser, you can see we have edit. When we have this edit, you can see it populate our data, Aliyu, Sahabu, Adam. Okay, so now let me change this to Ali. Okay, like Ali, then try to submit. Okay, you see it submitted and the name changed. And let me give example here. When we try to change this Adam, you see it populate our data. So it populated our data. That is because we use this endpoint for the get employee by ID, and we set the state here, get employee by ID, set the state and have the values on the field. That is why we have our data populated in the input field, and we use the update employee to change the data and submit. That is the data that is sent, we submit it. Okay, so let's go back to the browser, try to change this Adam to Aliyu and submit. You see it works successfully, and the next thing we will work on is delete. See you in the next video. Hi guys, in this video we'll have the backend implementation for the delete. Okay, and we will go to the interface and declare a new method for the delete. So this method is void and delete employee by ID. That is the name of the method, delete employee by ID. So we need a parameter, so of type long ID. Here it is. So now let's go to the employee service implementation and implement this new method, add unimplemented method. Okay, so for this we just need to use the repository. Okay, so we use the employee repository, and we will call a method delete by ID. So here it is, and then pass this ID. So we finish with this, and the next thing is the controller. So let's have the delete mapping. So we need to define add delete and delete mapping with the part, this part, that is the employee and the ID. So we need to have this within a string. So let's define the action. So we will have a public response entity of map, okay, and the key and the value, we need a string followed by boolean, okay, which will return. So we will call this delete, that is the name of the action, and this will only have the path variable in the parameter. So let's define the action logic. So the first thing we need to do, we call the employee.service dot, then we need to call the delete employee by ID, pass the ID, that is all. And the next thing, let's define our map, which will return as a response entity map. The key is string followed by boolean. So let's call this response, so equal to new hash map. So and then we need to have the response that we will add the data. So the string is that we pass deleted. We will check if it is deleted, then we set this to true using the boolean dot true. So that is all, and let's return response entity. Let's remove this, then access the OK and pass the response as the body response. Okay, that is all that we need to do. Let's have the semicolon here. Okay, save the changes, and the next thing we're going to do is we will have the last implementation, which is delete for the front end. Hi guys, in this video we will going to have the front end implementation for the delete. So we will go to the API.js and we need to define a delete employee by ID. So this will have the ID, and let's return axios dot delete. So the logic inside will be as the same as this one. So we just need to have the ID and the path to the employee. So let's have this. For the delete, we will have the action to remove the user from our state. So we will go to the action.js and define this. So let's save the changes. So we need to go to the action.js, okay, and we need to define another type in the action type for the delete. So let's duplicate this. We will change this to delete, as well as here delete. Okay, so let's save the changes and go to the action. First, let's define a function, okay, Okay, function delete employee. This will receive the ID because we will use the ID to delete. Okay, and we need to return the type and the payload. Okay, so the type here is for the delete. We have to access action types dot employee dot delete, comma, then the payload. So the payload is the ID because we are deleting based on the ID now. So let's go further, and we need the delete employee export function. Then we need delete employee, in this case action. So this will to receive the ID, and let's define the logic inside this. We'll return dispatch. So, and we use the API dot delete employee by ID. Then we will pass the ID to the delete employee by ID. Then we need to dispatch. Okay, the only thing we will do here, so we will call the dispatch followed by our delete employee, then the ID. That is all we need to do here. So if you want, we can break this down so it better. So let's have this. This is what it will return. Okay, so we finished defining this. Then we need to update our reducer. We need to remove this. So let's go to the reducer. So, and we will define a new case. So let's have action types dot employee dot delete. So we will define the logic here. This will return. So we need to go to the employees that we have. So, and find the one. We will filter the one that has the ID that we pass in the payload. So we need state, the right state, then employees, then we need to filter. Okay, we will filter when the item equal to item.id. Okay, I use item, that is the item that we have inside the array, and you can change it to just employee. So let's change this to employee ID. Then so we will set this that is not equal to the deleted one, that is action dot payload. Okay, that is that we need to define. So let's save these changes and break this down is better. So that is what we have for the delete in the reducer. We remove the employee. We remove the employee from our state. So the next thing we will do, we'll go into the employee list. inside the employee list, we will define a new function and delete. So we need to import the action here, that is the delete action, delete employee action. So, and we'll define a function here, and this function we will call it delete employee. So, and we will delete with ID, based on the ID. So the only thing we will do inside this function, we will dispatch the delete employee action and pass the ID. So we will pass this to a new button that we will create when we click. So let's go to, we will duplicate this button. Okay, so and we want to change its color to red, and this will be delete. So button dot danger, so that is better. And we will change the on click. For this we will have delete employee. So let's have delete employee. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Let's save the changes and go to the employee list. You can see we have the delete, but we need to have some space between the days. Okay, before testing, let's go to and have a style inside this. We'll have margin left, so the margin left, will set this to 5. Let's save the changes and check. So it's better now. Let's try to delete this user. You see we have deleted. Let's add another user and try to delete Aliyu Adamu, and I set this to Aliyu Sahabo Adam at gmail.com. So Aliyu Sahabo Adam at gmail.com. So let's delete this again. So it deleted. So this is the end of this series where we build this application, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share.